The year was 1850, and somewhere in the American South, a man stood on a wooden platform, while strangers inspected his teeth, his shoulders, his arms, even the scars on his back. He wasn't a horse. He wasn't cattle. He wasn't a machine. He was a human being. Yet on that day, every eye staring at him cared about only one thing: how much money he was worth. Now imagine this. You wake up one morning and discover that your greatest danger isn't being weak. It's being valuable. Because in 1850, the stronger you were, the smarter you were, the healthier you were, the more dangerous your life became. A skilled blacksmith could be sold for a fortune. A strong field worker could be ripped away from his family overnight. A woman known for her medical knowledge could suddenly become someone's investment. And a child born healthy and strong could be viewed as future profit before learning how to read. This wasn't fiction. This wasn't a nightmare. This was America in 1850, one of the most profitable years in the history of slavery. And for enslaved people, one of the most terrifying. By 1850, the Cotton Empire was exploding. Across the deep South, cotton fields stretched beyond the horizon. Year after year, plantation owners became richer, banks became richer, traders became richer, and as money poured into the system, something horrifying happened. The value of enslaved people began to rise. Not because society respected them, not because they were finally recognized as human beings, but because demand was growing faster than supply. Plantation owners wanted more workers, more cotton pickers, more blacksmiths, more carpenters, more skilled laborers, and every additional dollar made human lives even more vulnerable. For many enslaved families, being poor health could sometimes mean being overlooked, but being young, strong, educated, skilled, that made you valuable. And being valuable attracted buyers. Lots of buyers. Across slave markets throughout the South, traders searched constantly for what they called prime slaves. The strongest men, the healthiest women, the most skilled workers, the people capable of generating the highest profits. Entire families lived in fear of those words. Prime slave, because once somebody labeled you valuable, your life could change within hours. A trader might arrive unexpectedly. A plantation owner might fall into debt. An auction might be scheduled. And suddenly, everything you knew could disappear. One former enslaved man later described how people would wake up terrified whenever strangers arrived on horseback. Not because they expected violence, but because they feared being sold. Because sale meant separation, and separation meant uncertainty. A husband might never see his wife again. A mother might never see her children again. A child might never know where his parents were taken. And in 1850, those separations were happening every single day. But then, something happened that made the situation even worse. Much worse. In September of 1850, the United States passed a law that sent shockwaves through black communities across the country. A law that terrified both enslaved people and free black Americans. A law known as the Fugitive Slave Act. Now imagine being an enslaved person who somehow escaped. Imagine finally reaching a northern state. Imagine believing you were safe. Imagine starting a new life, finding work, building friendships, sleeping peacefully for the first time in years. Then suddenly, one piece of legislation changes everything. Because under this new law, slave catchers gained extraordinary power, and the rewards for capturing escaped slaves became enormous. Almost overnight, human hunting became a business, a profitable business, and valuable slaves became some of the biggest targets. Because bringing back a highly skilled worker, or a young healthy man, could earn serious money. The message was clear. If you were valuable, someone was looking for you. Someone was tracking you. Someone was calculating your worth. Not as a person, but as property. Fear spread rapidly, not just in the South, but in northern cities as well. Free black citizens carried documents proving their freedom. Some traveled in groups. Others avoided strangers entirely, because there were cases where free black people were kidnapped, accused of being fugitives, and dragged into slavery. Imagine that fear. Imagine walking down a street, knowing your freedom could vanish because somebody wanted a reward. Knowing the color of your skin alone could place you in danger. And while all of this was happening, the slave economy continued growing. Prices continued rising, and families continued breaking apart. But hidden beneath the fear, something else was growing too. Anger, resistance, and determination. Because not everyone accepted this system quietly. Not everyone agreed to live as property, and before long, some people would risk absolutely everything: their homes, their families, their lives, to fight back, to escape, and to challenge one of the most powerful systems in American history. But what happened next? And why some enslaved people chose risks so extreme that death itself seemed preferable, is where this story becomes even darker and far more dangerous. Type Part 2, and we'll continue the story. The people most likely to run were often the very people worth the most: a strong field worker, a skilled carpenter, a blacksmith, a wagon builder, a man who could repair machinery, a woman known for healing the sick. These were the people plantation owners desperately wanted to keep. And because they were so valuable, they were watched constantly, every movement noticed, every conversation questioned, every friendship monitored. Many slept knowing that freedom was only miles away, yet completely out of reach. Still, some tried. Under the cover of darkness, they slipped into forests, crossed rivers, followed stars, and prayed they would see another sunrise. Some succeeded, many didn't, because by 1850, a network of slave catchers had spread across large parts of the country. These men weren't always lawmen. Many were bounty hunters, men motivated by one thing: money. And a valuable slave could bring a very valuable reward. The hunt could last days, sometimes weeks. Dogs were used, posters were distributed, descriptions circulated from town to town: height, weight, scars, skills, every detail recorded, as if the person being hunted wasn't human, but stolen property. One newspaper advertisement offered rewards for enslaved men who could read and write. Think about that for a moment. Knowledge, intelligence, education, the very things most societies celebrate, could increase your price and increase the number of people searching for you. The cruel irony was impossible to ignore. The harder you worked, the more useful you became, the more dangerous your situation often grew. For plantation owners, value meant profit. For enslaved people, value often meant risk. And then came the auctions, perhaps the most feared places of all. Imagine standing in a crowded market, strangers surrounding you, examining your hands, your arms, your back, discussing your future as if you weren't standing right there. Children separated from parents, husbands separated from wives, brothers separated from sisters. The sound of crying became so common that many traders stopped noticing it altogether. For them, it was business. For the families being torn apart, it was the end of the world. One witness described seeing a mother begging on her knees, not for freedom, not for money, only for permission to remain with her child. The request was denied. The child was sold, and the mother never saw that child again. Stories like these were repeated thousands of times, across plantations, across auction blocks, across the American South. But history often remembers something important. The system was powerful, yet it was never absolute, because despite the violence, despite the laws, despite the rewards, people continued resisting. Some sabotaged equipment, some worked slowly, some secretly learned to read, some passed information from plantation to plantation, others escaped, and some became symbols of courage for future generations. Their names rarely appeared in history books. Their photographs rarely survived, yet their determination survived, their courage survived, their refusal to surrender their humanity survived, and that frightened slaveholders more than anything else. Because deep down, many understood a simple truth: a person can be chained, a person can be sold, a person can be hunted, but the desire for freedom is much harder to control. By the late 1850s, tensions across America were becoming impossible to ignore. Arguments over slavery grew louder. Political divisions deepened. Communities split apart. And the nation moved closer and closer toward a conflict that would change everything. The people making fortunes from slavery believed the system would last forever. Many were certain their wealth, their power, and their influence could never be challenged. History would prove them wrong. Just over a decade later, the Civil War would tear through the country. Hundreds of thousands would die, and the institution that had treated human beings as property would begin collapsing. But in 1850, none of that future was guaranteed. For the enslaved man standing on an auction block, for the mother fearing separation, for the fugitive hiding from slave catchers, the future remained uncertain. All they knew was the reality in front of them, a reality where being valuable, could be a curse, a reality where strength attracted buyers, where skill attracted attention, where intelligence increased risk, and where freedom remained painfully out of reach. So when we ask, why was 1850 one of the most dangerous years to be a valuable slave? The answer isn't found in a single law, or a single plantation, or a single auction. It's found in a system that transformed human lives into financial assets. A system where a person's worth was measured in dollars, not dignity. A system where value increased danger, and where survival itself became an act of courage. The next time you hear the word valuable, remember that for thousands of enslaved people in 1850, it didn't mean opportunity. It didn't mean success. It didn't mean privilege. It meant that somebody, somewhere, was calculating a price. And sometimes, that price could cost you everything. If this story made you think, if it revealed a chapter of history many people never hear about, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more forgotten stories from the past, and tell us in the comments, what part of this history shocked you the most? Because the darkest chapters of history should never be forgotten, only remembered, so they are never repeated.